After a little unrelated excursion into science fiction and the origins of the subgenre of cyberpunk, we return back to Tolkien. In this very short episode, we look a bit into some further details of The Lord of the Rings, mainly focusing on the book. Frodo still lies in bed in Rivendell and talks to Gandalf. We find some interesting quotes in this scene regarding Gandalf's abilities, wisdom, and his status or authority in the world. But before we start, as always, I try to pronounce names as Tolkien described it. Shoutouts to Kimberly80, Laura Tolton, Nyati, and Benef for allowing me to use their amazing artworks, and of course, spoiler warning. While Gandalf was talking to Frodo, he noticed something interesting, quote, "But to the wizard's eye there was a faint change, just a hint as it were of transparency about him, and especially about the left hand that lay outside the coverlet." In the video about the unseen and who can see it, I already talked about this quote. I recommend checking it out. The quote of course implies that Gandalf's eyes can see more than just the physical appearance, the seen, but also the unseen, and that seems to have changed for Frodo. It is of course highly plausible that Gandalf, as Maya, a spirit being, can see the unseen, so other aspects of the world, and especially other beings beyond their physical images. We will find multiple hints in the books that Gandalf can see more and even foretell or predict the future. Gandalf, according to the Silmarillion, is one of the wisest Maya, and some see being able to foresee the consequences of actions and events as one aspect of wisdom. The transparency mentioned in the quote hints at Frodo almost becoming a race, in my opinion. The passage goes a bit further. "Still, that must be expected," said Gandalf to himself. "He is not half through yet, and to what he will come in the end, not even Elrond can foretell. Not to evil, I think. He may become like a glass filled with clear light, for eyes to see that can." There are so many interesting details in this. Gandalf is not surprised, even expected what he sees, so it is potentially the expected consequence of being wounded like this, getting close to becoming a race and bearing the One Ring. But he can't predict or foretell what the future of Frodo will be precisely. Further, he implies that Elrond is an example for someone who can foretell the future and is very good at it. Quote, "Not even Elrond can foretell." The phrase "not even" emphasizes his ability. In my Círdan and the History of the Elves video, we talked about Círdan having the gift of foresight, but Elrond seems to have it too. Why that is, we might explore in a future episode about Elrond. However, Tolkien also implies, by simply letting Gandalf say this, that the Great Wizard also has knowledge about this. How does he know that not even Elrond can foretell? Has he asked him? Possible, but it clearly shows his expertise. A statement like that would not come from, let's say, Pippin. And the next sentence makes it also clear how much Gandalf sees and that he himself can also see the future. Not too evil, I think. He may become like a glass filled with a clear light for eyes to see that can. Here Gandalf also foretells vaguely Frodo's future. He of course is not sure about it, but the "I think" implies that it's his thought, not what Elrond might have told him. With this he appears at least on equal terms with the Elf Lord in wisdom and his ability to foretell the future, even though at this point in the book we don't really know who or what Gandalf exactly is. It seems Gandalf can guess the greater picture. This is further strengthened by him explaining some sentences further that he added a few touches on his own to the flood that was commanded by Elrond to wash the Black Riders away. We see that some of the waves took the form of great white horses with shining white riders. This again shows Gandalf's status. Who else would dare to mess around with Elrond's flood in his own realm, if not someone of highest authority? Gandalf is very vague with his statement and expresses that he is not sure, but thinks Frodo will not come to evil. He further plays with his words on Frodo's transparency or new connection to the unseen. like a glass filled with a clear light for eyes to see that can. Glorfindel, also in this passage, is described as a white figure that shone and did not grow dim like the others. In my mentioned video about seeing the unseen, I explain this quote in great detail. It has to do with Glorfindel seeing the lights of the two trees of Valinor and being empowered after his noble sacrifice in his fight against the Balrog to protect the refugees of Gondolin in the First Age. Elrond's father Eärendil was born in Gondolin, so this is all connected. One might interpret the sentence as Gandalf foretelling Frodo leaving Middle-earth to sail to Aman, basically spoiling the end. I assume though it is Gandalf expressing his belief that Frodo will also empower and do almost superhuman deeds. He will bring the ring further than anyone would be able to, even though he might fail to destroy it himself in the end. Tolkien wrote in letter 192, Frodo deserved all honor because he spent every drop of his power of will and body, and that was just sufficient to bring him to the destined point and no further. Few others, possibly no others of his time, would have got so far. So Frodo does probably more than the mighty of his time could have done, which might seem as him growing from a hobbit to one of the biggest heroes of his time, as the old elven heroes who have seen the light of the trees. On the other side, Tolkien also wrote in his letter, no, Frodo failed, but one must face the fact that power of evil in the world is not finally resistible by incarnate creatures, however good. So it is not like he had some superhuman divine powers. I think what Gandalf means is maybe a mixture of both. Frodo grew immensely on his journey, and his success in the end was what allowed him to journey to Aman and heal there. But it comes down to interpretation. However, I like that the end of The Lord of the Rings is not the only thing making the story great. It's also what leads to its end. And this again shows how masterfully Tolkien phrases his sentences, especially in the exposition-heavy chapters like the Rivendell chapters, putting many clues and hints into them that form the world. You can read them 20 times and always notice a new detail and thought that can be extracted. As this example shows, he elegantly positions, for example, Gandalf's character into the world without somebody simply telling the reader, but by implying his role, abilities, and authority throughout many chapters hidden in small details, thoughts, and dialogues, or in this case, an inner monologue. So Frodo filling like a glass with clear light might have many meanings, but it's a sentence that makes you think. And at the end of the sentence, Gandalf adds, for eyes to see that can. Gandalf is portrayed as character that sees more than others. Insight is an aspect of wisdom. Saruman was not able to see it. He thought it was a waste of time what Gandalf did. There's an interesting quote from a White Council meeting we find in the Unfinished Tales in the chapter The Hunt for the Ring. This passage from Tolkien's notes exists in multiple versions. Quote from Saruman, I know well enough that you have become a curious explorer of the small, weeds, wild things, and childish folk. Your time is your own to spend if you have nothing worthier to do, and your friends you may make as you please, but to me the days are too dark for wanderers' tales, and I have no time for the simples of peasants. All this gives me the impression that simply seeing what is unseen is only one aspect. Saruman could for sure see the unseen too, but he did not look at the places where Gandalf looked, and if he did, he could not understand what he saw. He maybe only saw what is now, but not the possibilities and what potential might develop out of it. I think that was true for other characters too, including Sauron. And this ability to see or have this degree of insight and wisdom is what is expressed here and shows Gandalf's true power. Often I get asked which character is more powerful, but in my opinion, power is a really complex term. It's not a question of who could kill who in a 1v1 act of violence or who could create and lead the stronger army. One is truly powerful if he can forge fate itself to get his desired outcome. And this Gandalf did probably best of all, even though he makes mistakes too, as discussed in episode 22. In almost all important events, we see Gandalf being involved, for example commanding the flood, and his knowledge guides so many others, even the reader. Frodo asked what happened after he collapsed and if this was the end of the Black Riders. Gandalf explained that his friends, with Glorfindel's help and burning branches, rushed toward the remaining ringwraiths, whose horses jumped into the river in terror together with the Black Riders. Then they found Frodo with his broken sword under him on the other side of the fort, with Glorfindel's horse Asvalos standing at the hobbit's side guarding the ring-bearer. A moment later Elrond's folk arrived and carried Frodo, who was already pale and cold, to Rivendell. Gandalf knew that evil is not so easily defeated. The horses might be dead and the Black Riders washed away down the river, but he knew it won't be the last time we hear of them. In the chapter The Ring Goes South, we can read that the remains of 8 dead horses and a black cloak were found. Beyond that, no sign or presence could be felt. For now, they were gone and crippled, maybe returning to Mordor, but they were not destroyed. After this, Gandalf asked Frodo to rest and tells him that soon there will be feasting and merrymaking to celebrate the victory at the fort of Bruinen, and Frodo and his friends will be there in places of honor. Frodo expresses his gratitude and is humble that great lords like Elrond and Glorfindel went through so much trouble and were so kind to him. Gandalf gives an interesting answer. "Well, there are many reasons why they should," said Gandalf, smiling. "I am one good reason. The ring is another. You are the ring bearer, and you are the heir of Bilbo, the ring finder." Gandalf may be saying this jokingly, but that he is a good reason is quite interesting considering what we discussed today. Gandalf is also one of the powerful and wise of Middle-earth. After Saruman's treachery, he is, I guess, also the new leader of the Istari, at least of the remaining Istari, and in the west. We don't know what the situation of the Blue Wizards is, and Radagast seems to be gone too. Elrond sent messengers to Radagast's house to invite him to the council, but he was not there. So actually it's only him and Saruman who are left in the west. With this, Gandalf's authority definitely unofficially increased among the wise. At the end of the dialogue, Frodo falls asleep, quoting the song he sang in the Prancing Pony, where he fell off the table and put the one ring on, mumbling, "The cow jumped over the moon," and "the poor old troll," thinking of Bilbo. The poor old troll is from the song Sam sang on their journey after Weathertop to lift the mood, invented by Sam. This little quote connects the 3 hobbits, all of them ring bearers, and of course Bilbo and Sam are dear to Frodo and are part of very important scenes of the adventure so far. Both situations have something positive to it. About meeting Sam and Bilbo in Rivendell we will talk probably next episode though. Thank you for watching. For those who watch this close to when the video released or in December, I wish you a Merry Christmas and fantastic Christmas holidays. 2020 was a difficult year for many people. And all others from the future also a great week at whatever time you see this. This time the video was shorter and very book focused. I hope you liked it. I will relax over Christmas a bit. After that there might be more streaming for me on Twitch and my games of 2020 video. Maybe I also make a little review-like video of Cyberpunk 2077. If you like sci-fi and cyberpunk, maybe check my last video about the origins of the subgenre of cyberpunk. Next year I've planned a detailed video on Elrond and maybe some other bigger videos. If you liked this video here, feel free to press the like button, leave a comment, maybe check my other content, playlists are in the description, and recommend me further. In case you want to subscribe, consider pressing the annoying bell. Currently I'm streaming Cyberpunk 2077 slowly and bad on Twitch. If you are interested, feel free to join. Again, thank you for watching and goodbye.